You read about hydrants that don't have water. You read about cutting firefighters' budgets. You read about reservoirs that are empty. I mean, it's got to be frustrating.
I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. You know, it's like Daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off, you know? So I think he'll get some results here quickly.
Daddy's home, according to actor Mel Gibson, in regard to Donald Trump's visit to Los Angeles following the devastating wildfires that ripped through the city. Now, while Gibson's choice of language is kind of creepy, gotta keep it real, it is definitely true that Donald Trump held Mayor Karen Bass's feet to the fire during a joint press conference. And I really do want to get into the details of this because it gives you a sense of how frustrating it is to live in Los Angeles and deal with the politicians that we have, because they tend to try to get dodgy, hide the truth, and sometimes they just lie to your face. Without further ado, let's take a look.
You mentioned a couple of things in terms of us expediting. So I signed executive directives right away so that we could cut the red tape. We could get people back building as fast as possible. And we're going to continue doing that.
Mayor, the one thing is they are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be the case.
Okay, I just hope you're right.
You can hold me to it.
4 groups said that.
No.
That would be, they should be able to do it. They should be able to start tonight.
That will not be the case.
But Bass ended up getting caught in a lie, a pretty massive lie, and Trump wasn't about to let her get away with it. Take a look.
You know, first we have to take care to make sure that there's not getting rid of the hazardous waste, cleaning things up so that people can start right away. We absolutely need your help. We need the federal help.
You've got it, I told you. You will have no permit problem. There will be 0 delay. And as far as I'm concerned, you already have the permits. And I'm much more worried about the fact that they said it's 18 months exactly. And they were devastated. They want to start now. They want to start removing things. They're not allowed to do it now. And you mentioned hazardous waste. Well, the hazardous waste, what's hazardous waste? I mean, you're going to have to define that. We're going to go through a whole series of questions on determining what's hazardous.
Nope.
I just think you have to allow the people to go on their site and start the process tonight.
And we will.
Except they won't, and they didn't, okay? So just to give you some background, this was a press conference specifically about the people who lost their homes in the Pacific Palisades. They want to rebuild. They don't want to leave. They don't want to move out of the state. They want to rebuild their homes. But they have been denied access to their properties since the fire happened. And so the argument that we're hearing from Karen Bass is, no, I have, done what I need to do to expedite the situation so people can get to their property as soon as possible. It's just that we have to clear out the hazardous waste. She said there, you just heard her, that they can get to their properties immediately. Later in the press conference, she's like, in about a week, because we have to remove the hazardous waste. But what's really interesting is Donald Trump kept harping on how the residents of the Pacific Palisades kept getting told that it's gonna take 18 months to go through the usual process in order to be able to begin constructing their homes. Karen Bass says that's not true, that's not true, that's not true throughout the entirety of the press conference. So what is true? Well, why don't we hear from the Public Works Director of Los Angeles? His name is Mark Pestarella, and what he had to say during a town hall meeting about the length of time it'll take for the residents of the Pacific Palisades to begin construction on their homes. Watch.
We know that the first phase will take some time. Phase 1 will take up to 3 months, maybe even longer, 6 months to get the toxics off. At the same time that is occurring, we'll be coming behind you with the process of debris removal. The debris removal can take up to 18 months, Supervisor.
Okay, so Karen Bass says removing the hazardous waste will only take a week, right? It'll take a week. Right there, you hear him say it'll take 6 months to remove hazardous waste. Like, I know that I complain about LA a lot, and it's not because I hate LA. I was born and raised in LA. I love LA. It's the leadership in LA that's frustrating, and they do lie to people. So there was something cathartic about watching Trump hold her feet to the fire and call out the lies.
Yeah, that a little bit later in the clip that we showed you guys, when he said, so they can go in right now because you keep saying they can go in tonight. And she said, well, no, in about a week. So is it now or is it in a week? Like, come on, you're in a national press conference with the president. Have your story straight. And if she said, look, they can go to their homes and do X, Y, or Z in a week because we need to make sure that it's safe, that's a defensible position. And I know a lot of people are frustrated and want to go see their homes right away. And I don't know what the hazardous waste is.
Lithium batteries from the electric vehicles.
No, I got you, but like I don't. So then, how dangerous is that? And if that's really dangerous, why are we allowing lithium batteries in electric vehicles? I don't know. So there's a lot of interesting questions there, but give us straight answers, because then it's super embarrassing when Trump of all people catch you in a lie in a press conference. So like, you gotta have your story straight, you gotta be able to defend it. And guys, this is what I'm talking about with Karen Bass. So we've got a poll right now in the chat about, is she gonna run again and is she gonna fail or not? Go check that out. But like, she shows no leadership. She comes back from Ghana. Look, I know people hated that she was in Ghana. There's a question about whether she knew about the big wins that are coming up, et cetera.
There is no question, she knew.
Okay, so, but even if you say, okay, she went to Ghana, but she took a trip, it's bad luck, she comes back. Then reporters ask her questions and she's not prepared. And she doesn't have any answers and it looks terrible. And did they not have any water in their reservoir? Yes, they had no water in the reservoir. You could say, you could make excuses for that. And then, but there's excuse after excuse after excuse. And whenever she's asked questions, she feels like it's impertinent of the reporter. How dare you? Don't you know that I'm a Democratic leader? You're not allowed to ask tough questions of Democratic leaders. No, we are allowed. We are allowed. And you're not the leader in some red state in Tuscaloosa. You should be held accountable by Democratic voters because you run a Democratic city. If you say do not hold Democrats accountable in their own cities, you're not helping Democratic voters. That's a terrible idea in a red state or a blue state. So here again, no good answers, seems totally unprepared. I know that some online are pretending that Karen Bass is popular in LA. Are you kidding me? I mean, look, it's no, she's despised in LA now.
It's embarrassing when the president of the United States appears to know more about how things are going in Los Angeles than Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. That's a huge, he showed up and it was clear to me, watch the entire press conference. It was clear to me that he did his homework.
Which he almost never does.
Which he never does. I couldn't believe the press conference I was watching. But he came correct. He knew the details. He spoke to members of the community. He spoke to different governmental agencies in Los Angeles to get a better grasp on how long things take. And really, you're gonna tell me it takes 6 months? 6 months to remove hazardous waste? Look, this isn't really spoken about, but it needs to be spoken about. The reason why there's so much attention on the Pacific Palisades is because these are real rich people, right? They're wealthy. I'm not saying that to demonize them at all, but because they're wealthy and because everyone seems to care about the wealthy people more than everyone else, because look at Altadena. Altadena is not a wealthy enclave. Okay, Altadena was actually the first part of Los Angeles that did not do redlining, which is why they have a sizable affluent black community there who have now lost their homes, but no one's paying attention to them. Everyone's paying attention to the Pacific Palisades, and it has raised concerns about the length of time it takes to construct anything in Los Angeles, right? And so why does it take 6 months to clear out hazardous waste? We're the highest taxed state and the highest taxed city in the highest taxed state there is in the United States. Why is it gonna take 6 months for the city to clear out the hazardous waste? Explain that to me.
No, I'm not kidding. I have a significant question about the lithium batteries in electric vehicles. If this is what happens in a fire, and because there are fires in the world. So if every time there's a fire and the Teslas burn, we can't go back into the area for 6 months because of the Teslas or any electric vehicle. Are the electric vehicles safe? I don't know. I am asking that in a very genuine way. We need to look into it. We need to do more research. So, but the idea, like if my home burnt down and they said, you can't go back to that site for all of this time.
For 6 months while the city clears out the hazardous waste.
Of course I'd be furious, right? But at the same time, I believe in regulations. If it really is dangerous, I don't want people stumbling back in, right? So
they want people to give up and sell their lots to the city. Like, I think that's what's going on here.
I have no idea.
They make it so difficult to rebuild. It is unbelievable. Now, one other thing I want to mention, because I thought these comments from people who have been victimized by these fires were really interesting. So for Star Parodi and Jeff Fair, both Democrats, Bass's assurances are no longer credible after a city response that they viewed as appalling. When they saw flames begin to lap their Pacific Palisades house on their Ring camera, Parodi said she immediately called 911 requesting help. The dispatcher replied, quote, "We don't have the resources, everyone is out." I know so well what that's like, by the way. And they refused to take a report, according to Parodi. In the week since the Palisades fire, Bass has projected a brisk business as usual approach, crafting a flurry of executive orders and updating residents on the recovery at near daily news conferences. So I read that last part mostly because this isn't business as usual. Okay, you have multiple communities within LA County where people have been completely devastated as a result of wildfires, destroying their homes and taking everything that they have. So like the business as usual attitude is not coming across as good leadership, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I don't, okay. Some folks that are defending Karen Bass mystify me because I don't know anybody in LA that's defending Karen Bass. So I don't want you to have a misleading impression. Democratic voters in LA are really mad, right? Because there's been very poor leadership here and nothing at all comforting. All right, but if you want to comfort the folks who suffered from that fire, we're recommending two places for you guys, Red Cross and World Central Kitchen. You can do go.tyt.com/Red Cross or /World Central Kitchen. It goes straight to them.
All right.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.